IPMNation.com.
Live from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, you're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Brought to you by IPMNation.com. Get ready for the gong heard round the world.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Hello and welcome back. Let me just say real quickly that for those following along, that seemed to go off without a hitch. I think we stayed live on the radio, which is good for us, right? And we had to cut out the Facebook feed just for a bit, and then so that we could rebroadcast. So let me say welcome to the 300, I should be writing this down, the 301st episode of All Natural Being. Susan, thank you so very much. The number is 833-462-3968, 833-GO-BU. I'll write that down very quickly. So if you want to call in, we would love to have you. And don't forget, this hour, we're going to be talking with Gordon from tryh2.com. So let me put in here 3968. We're going to be talking to Gordon about all things, like if you have any of the chronic ailments that may be plaguing your life, right? And a lot of times what we'll do is we'll get into something where what happens is that we address the symptoms. We don't necessarily address the real cause of what's going on. So I'm excited to have Gordon from tryh2.com here, because then he's going to kind of give us some of the heads up as the things that we can do, right, to kind of beat back the ravages of age and of pain and some of the symptoms that go along with, the progressive, some of the progressive compounding ailments that come from chronic diseases. Let me hop over here in the thread very quickly. Let me say hello to Henry and to Jenny again. Hello. Thank you very much for joining us. Henry, thank you. And welcome back to you. I know you have a big day. I'm excited to hear all about it. I'll tell you, reading your text last night, it just made me hungry. Well, I could, right? There's nothing that says I can't have food delivered here, but I could use cheeseburgers and jalapeno poppers. Absolutely great. Let me say hello to Kelly. John, thank you so very much for joining us here in the 301st episode. As Patricia says, Brian, hour 2, only 22 to go. Don't I know it? But I'm thrilled I'm going to give it the attempt. And a lot of it is people saying, have you ever has your shunt ever had to work nonstop for 24 hours? Don't know. We're going to find out pretty soon. But in fairness, now, let me just do this quickly before we take our next call. In fairness to doing this 24-hour, and as you know, this is the ramp up for the world record, the 81 to win later in December. But what they say, hello, Wayne. They don't say hello, Wayne. I said hello, Wayne, here in the thread. Thank you for joining us. And again, thank you, Wayne, for everything you've done this week to get the last couple of weeks, last month, to get us ramped up for this. What they say over at the World Record Office is that you're allowed a 20-minute break every 4 hours. So what I thought I would do is I'd go 12 hours and take an hour break. So later this evening, wee hours of the morning here in North America, I'll take a little break. I have a cot set up right here in the studio and everything else. And we'll go and I'll take a little sleep. I have this. Hold on. My little dream sleeper that I get to put on, right, to block out the light and everything else while I'm taking a little nap. So we'll take a little nap, and that'll help me and still keep it within the record. All right, let's take a quick call, see who we have. Good morning. Welcome to All Natural Being. Who's with us?
Good morning, Brian. It's Gord Farquhar calling from Live H2.
Hey, Gordon. How are you, sir?
Very good. How are you today?
I'm doing good. You know, I was telling people that one of the first calls that I made after the surgery was to you because you have a pretty novel approach to chronic illnesses, and even some that aren't so chronic. For me, it was the traumatic brain injury of 3 separate surgeries to remove a golf ball-sized brain tumor. And the odd thing of it is that to get a golf ball out, they put a tennis ball-sized hole in my head. But that's okay. But that's not why I had you call. I was just fascinated by your history, the opinion that you have about how chronic stress leads to disease and to illness and to all the symptoms. And then a lot of times pharmaceutical companies, they'll be fighting the symptom, right? But not necessarily addressing the underlying cause. So I'm really fired up to have you with us. And Gordon's agreed to be here for the hour. So if you'd like to call in and ask him any questions at all, 833-462-3968, 833-GO-BE-YOU. And so, Gordon, give us a little idea. How did this become a passion of yours? And how is it that people can learn from your expertise to help them out in their own life?
Well, thanks, Brian. It basically is, this has all been driven by my past. For the past 55 years, I'm 63 years old now, and for the past 55 years, I have been visited, as I call it, by a number of chronic diseases, starting out with allergies when I was very young. And I was raised on a farm. And, I can remember Dad out spraying the fields, soybeans and corn and, whatever he was growing, and playing in this funny haze that smelled funny. And that's what I would attribute to the start of my issues. Now, he didn't know, like farmers way back then didn't realize how toxic some of these chemicals were. So my allergies started, before I was 10 years old. I remember going in and having the test done. They stick your back full of, 50 needles to try to figure out what you're allergic to.
Okay.
So that's sort of where it started. And then it went on to psoriasis. I had sarcoidosis, asthma, pleurisy, Legionnaire's disease.
Wow.
That was a tough one. It's not fun being isolated in a room and, people coming in to visit you and they have to wear these big suits type thing because because of this bacteria that you've got in you. Leukemia, had that about 3 years ago. And so I'm tested every 6 months, my blood, and visit the oncologist every 6 months. Diabetes. Right now I've got arthritis in a couple of fingers, and so it's starting to make its way through. And pneumonia would be the other one. I've had that a couple of times. So, I guess what's the drive has been, why me? Why have I, had to suffer through all these different ailments? And so that was sort of the impetus for me to start really, delving into research and trying to figure out, what the heck is going on.
Well, Gordon, I'll tell you, it was instrumental for me. And when you heard what had happened to me and you said, look, I've got to get you on this hydrogenated water. And there were all kinds of things that you said, hey, look, it may not be a chronic illness, but the tumor had been in me for 30 years. So I was doing something wrong all that time. And one of the very first things, and the reason, there's all kinds of reasons that I wanted you to come on, but one of the things that I wanted to talk to people about and have you talk to them about today, like you hear of fibromyalgia, you hear of all these other things. Talk to us about oxidative stress. How do we get it? What is it? And why is it the underlying culprit for just tons of different ailments in society today?
And that is, in my opinion, and I am not a trained medical person. I've had no training whatsoever. I like to think my experience, my knowledge, my credibility comes from my past life experience. And
well, Gordon, let me interrupt for just a second. Let me interrupt and say that is maybe not a formal and a collegiate kind of medical training, but going through the things that you've gone through, you get some street cred from me.
Yeah, it's it's some of these things, we're not are bothersome. Some of the ailments, they're all most of them chronic diseases. But the psoriasis, I really didn't. It bothered me at first, but because I was in high school when it first started, and it didn't look good, and so but I sort of got to the point where who cares? I can deal with this. And, I did try all the potions, all the lotions. I was in a trial on different compounds, different pills and that kind of thing. So I went through all that stuff. But, it came down to, I had to finally start looking into what is going on. Are these all these ailments, are they unrelated, or perhaps they are related to each other? And perhaps they are just symptoms of a body that has got, some real issues going on. And then it comes down to what you just talked about, oxidative stress, free radicals running rampant through your body. And a free radical is sort of like an oxygen molecule, splits into single atoms with unpaired electrons. Those electrons like to be in pairs, so they team up with some other compound in your body, which then causes all kinds of, which is oxidative stress. So what I found through all this research is when you look at the studies, almost every single one of these chronic diseases has oxidative stress as one of the core problems or one of the core reasons why. And so that sort of has brought us to where we're at now in terms of it's all about bringing that under control, reducing that free radical damage, and that's where the hydrogen water, molecular hydrogen water comes into play. It is an incredible gas. Hydrogen is the smallest element on the periodic table. It's the smallest element in the universe and the most abundant element. But it is a gas, just like oxygen's a gas, nitrogen's a gas.
Okay.
And it is the gas that fuels the sun, and it's the gas that took down the Hindenburg. Everybody probably remembers that.
Sure.
At least anybody of my age.
Sure.
So, but when to get into a little bit of history, the alkaline water ionizers, a lot of folks may have heard of them. That is something that has been around for quite a number of years, and providing a lot of health benefits. And it turns out that that type of equipment produces hydrogen gas, dissolved hydrogen in the water. And so, the researchers at first didn't really have a good handle on what was causing the benefits from that kind of device, whether the pH, the higher pH, alkaline water, or whether it was the hydrogen in. And it turns out most of the benefit is due to hydrogen. And so today there's equipment made that that's designed just to produce hydrogen rich water.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because you know that I have one that I use, the H2 to go, where a lot of times, and we'll let me do this, because there's two things that I do, Gordon, and you're a lot better at discussing it than I am. But I have my thing that generates my own hydrogen water each morning, and that allows me to, right, because I don't want to be in the position where I don't want to add anything more than I already have to my recovery, right? I want to be able to do something and go, okay, great. What is it that I need? I want to do it now, and I don't want to be subject to just hours on end. So I have my H2 to go that generates hydrogen right in the water for me. And I also have my hydrogen inhalation unit, which I've turned into, and I have it up on the screen now, Gordon, I've turned it into a form of my meditation. It produces hydrogen that I can inhale. So I do it first thing in the morning. I do it last thing in the evening. Could you give us a little bit of an idea about those two products? And then I want to get to some of the other things, and I want to take some calls if anyone has a particular ailment that's bugging them. But could you talk about those, my H2 to go, which I always have with me, and then also the inhalation unit, please?
Yeah, so we're talking basically about molecular hydrogen. And there's a few ways of getting that molecular hydrogen in your body. And the H2 to go, which is a portable battery-powered hydrogen water device, produces very high levels of dissolved hydrogen. And in fact, in its category, in a portable unit, there is nothing else that produces even close to what the H2 Go produces.
Okay.
The other type way of getting hydrogen, the water is probably the easiest and the most popular way. Then we get to the inhalation of hydrogen gas. And it's just another way of getting the hydrogen. But now you've sort of cranked it up a lot because you're breathing in that hydrogen, and still predominantly oxygen, because remember, it's just a cannula in your nose, so you're taking in the regular atmospheric air as well. So the breathing it in is another way. Bathing in hydrogen water is a third way. A little interesting story, Brian, I might relate here, is that hydrogen, being the smallest element in the universe, it passes right through your body.
Okay.
So that's why bathing in it can provide a wonderful benefit. But what I did, remember at the top I said I had some arthritis going on in my fingers, my hands.
Right.
So that at time, especially the one baby finger that it's most prominent in, gets pretty painful. So I took some hydrogen water at a certain concentration, and I put my hand in it for 20 minutes, and lo and behold, that pain was gone. So now that's just my experience. That, I did that little experiment a few months ago, but that again just reinforced the fact that, man, this stuff is hydrogen water is so important in the free radical game, in the reducing of oxidative stress, reducing inflammation. All those things are sort of tied together. And so, so there are a number of ways of getting additional hydrogen into your system, but the water being number one and inhalation probably number two.
And then for folks, let me put it back up on the screen. If you have any questions about it, you can go over to tryh2.com, and you should know tryh2.com is one of the folks sponsoring our 24-hour attempt. And then later, John just asked in the thread, let me say hello to Joe. Joe, thank you so very much for watching. Brother Wallman, I apologize. I was so slammed the other day. I missed your birthday. So belated happy birthday. Jim, thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. I put it up on the screen, so if people want more information, Gordon, they can go to tryh2.com. Let me ask you another question. Talk to me a little bit about water purification, right? Just and by that I mean all the different things that they now say are in our water supply, right? So we're not just saying drink water, just be hydrated, right? I've said before that your hydration shouldn't hurt you. We're talking about the need to have hydrogenated water because of its therapeutic, therapeutic benefits. And what is it now, Gordon? 700 some odd clinical studies or trials, or can you explain? Like, just for people wondering, well, what is it about hydrogen that is so special? Can you give us a little bit of a rundown on that?
Yeah, and so anything on our site, like tryh2.com, the main drive, the main purpose of that was to identify those things that through third-party research, I could, honestly say and attest to the fact that these things will provide this, that, or the other benefit.
Okay.
When it comes to water, as we know, that's one of the core. That's after air, it's water, and the purity of our water is really suspect now. In fact, there's been tests done, and you'll remember, Brian, probably a month ago or maybe 3 weeks ago, the groundskeeper in California won a lawsuit against one of the major chemical companies that was exposed to heavy doses of glyphosate.
Glyphosate, is that how it's pronounced? Glyphosate? Glyphosate,
and
okay.
It is supposedly one of the only efficacious compounds in this specific formula. I'm going to stay away from brand names and all that kind of thing. And a lot of testing has been done on glyphosate, and a lot of tests do indicate that it's safe. But what they haven't done is done the extensive testing on the finished product.
Okay.
Now, the finished product has obviously a lot of other compounds in it, and one of them is a surfactant. So let me use this comparison. If you wash your hands are dirty, and you wash your hands in water, just water, or you use soap and water. Which one do you think is going to be more effective? Well, using the soap. Well, it's the same with glyphosate. Okay, on its own, it may not be as bad as it is if you combine it with a surfactant, which in fact it is, because that allows the plant to uptake it much easier. So now that changes things as to toxicity.
Okay,
and so this is a real issue with me and an awful lot of people, in that it is found everywhere. You can't get away from it.
Okay.
You look at cereals. If you delve into it, glyphosate, breakfast cereals, you'll be shocked at what comes up.
Okay.
Almost anything that you eat and or drink, even bottled water. There's it's terrible. They've tested I think it's 100 and some different types of bottled water, and 90% of them have glyphosate.
Well, and I know, Gordon, a little bit later, Amanda Bobbitt's going to be on, and she was telling us about somebody that got in trouble. They were saying, bottled water, give us all your money for this bottled water. And it was coming out of like a hose in Manhattan or the East River, wherever they were bottling it from. But it was far from the natural spring water, icebergs, sediment, filtered and all the rest of that, far from what they had advertised that it was.
Well, it's the same with a lot of the foods we buy. We go buy a carton of eggs, and you see on the carton a nice picture of a idyllic family farm with a red barn and cows, and nothing could be further from the truth.
You mean that's not true?
No,
that's not true. Oh man, that's it. I'm wrapping the show. No, that's not true. Let me say hello quickly to Jim, and Joe. Joe, thank you for watching us. Here we're into the 301st episode of All Natural Being, into our second hour of the 24-hour to see if we can pull it off. And I'm talking with Gordon from tryh2.com. And the reason that I wanted Gordon on is to give you an idea of some of the things, some of the potions, some of the powders, some of the things that I do day in and day out to keep on recovering. When I talk about, I'm battling back, you speak to the neurosurgeons and they go, you're not out 2 years yet. Some people take 2.5, 3 years to recover. So what I wanted to do was find a way of making my immune system my new best friend. So I turned to Gordon, and he came up with a list of things that I could do so that I wasn't chop blocking my own immune system, because Gordon, and I know I've shared this with you before, but I'll share it with everyone else because it's germane, I think, to them as well. My neurosurgeon said, look, your immune system's pretty tough. And if you can help it by putting out some of the smaller fires in your body, if you can help it by addressing the flare-ups of oxidative stress in other regions of your body, it will rise to the challenge of healing the after effect or the aftermath of 3 traumatic brain injuries, the surgeries, the stitches and the scalpels and the shunt and the fluid leaks. He goes, if you can figure out how to help put out these spot fires, your immune system's going to rise to the occasion. So I turned to Gordon, and then Gordon helped me in terms of understanding what oxidative stress was. And Gordon, real quickly, because we're going to run to a quick commercial, I'd ask you to hold on, and we'll bring you back at the bottom of the hour. But can you give me a quick list of why, right, 60 seconds, 1 minute, give me a list of some of the ailments that people are subject to, and if they are, they may just want to look into some of the things that you have at tryh2.com.
Oh, wow. Well, virtually every chronic disease has got oxidative stress involved in it. And I'm just going to pop up a quick thing, rheumatoid arthritis, which I have.
Okay.
Dementia-type ailments, so Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. And I want to point out, as I'm going through some of these, on our website, I have put research, third-party research. A lot of it, admittedly, is animals, okay? But the links there, when it comes to oxidative stress, it's really the same, whether it's a mouse, whether it's a rat, whether it's, whatever it is. Oxidative stress is oxidative stress. So, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, in fact, there's an incredible project, I believe it's on the site now, on Alzheimer's. So please, I do recommend folks to have a look at those studies. We've sort of laid them out in abstract form, so you don't have to read the whole thing. It's just abbreviated form.
Sure.
So cardiovascular ailments, diabetes. I've got diabetes. That's oxidative stress. Fibromyalgia that you've spoken about. So there's a lot of them, Brian. Virtually everyone I've looked at, if you punch up the disease and oxidative stress, you'll find research on that, on the free radical side of it.
All right, Gordon, let's do this.
They're all implicated.
Let's send people over to tryh2.com. We're going to run to the bottom of the hour. We'll be back in just a little bit. Gordon will be staying with us, and we'll be taking your calls. Gordon, thank you so very much. We will be right back. At least that's my hope, right?
You're listening to the #1 rated all-natural being with Brian Brawdy here on IPMNation.com. It's where your grit gets going.
top of the day from the bottom of the hour. You're listening to the #1 rated all-natural being here on IPMNation.com. Thank you so very much for stopping over and hanging out with us.
Hi, it's Stephen Farquhar from TryH2. If you're interested in learning about Brian's Perfect 10, the all-natural products he is using to keep awake and alert in his 24-hour marathon, then please visit us at tryh2.com. That's TRYH2.com.
All right, we're back, and let me just say hello quickly to Joe and to Laura and to Dana. Thank you so very much for joining us here at All Natural Being. Now, I can only imagine that maybe Sunday, a weekend holiday, wasn't the time to kind of do this thing, because I noticed that the Facebook signal it says here that it's cutting in and out. So my apologies for that. There's, we got business lines, we've got this, we've got that, we've got everything and their brother running in here. But apparently, once you get outside of the building, that signal can be suspect. Even then. So my apologies if it's cutting in and out. And we want to get back to Gordon. Gordon, you still with us?
You bet.
Well, and one thing, Gordon, before you answer that, you made a good point as we were going to our little break there, is that tryh2.com just doesn't have all kinds of cool things, and we're going to discuss some of the things that I take, but you've got all the case studies, all the different things, so that people could go over there and go, and don't take my word for it, don't take Gordon's word for it, don't take anyone else's word for it. Yeah, Joe, I'm sorry about that. Joe says it's cutting out bad, and all I'm thinking is that it might very well be, you know what I mean? I'm thinking, okay, everybody and their brother, maybe, hopefully, let's look at it this way, Joe. Hopefully everyone will get ready to go to the pool pretty soon, and they'll get off my internet signal. So, but Gordon, let's get back to it before it cuts out again. And don't forget, folks, if you want to hear the audio, maybe the best way to do it is just go to IPMNation.com/ANB now, and then you can crank up the audio there and just leave Facebook with the audio down. And even if Facebook goes out, the audio, it only means you're speaking the truth. Joe, I cannot tell you how many times where I thought, and I'll have Henry talk about that when he comes on, where we'll be doing something, and all of a sudden, when I think it's really something pretty cool, the signal starts to go. So we'll talk about that for sure. And then, Henry, so people can go to tryh2.com. It's not just to buy stuff. It's as much an informational site as it is anything else, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. No, we've continually, at least once a month, go through what the latest research coming out on primarily molecular hydrogen, and then anything meaningful we throw up on the site.
So let's talk about this now, because I get a lot of people asking me about clean water, clean air. But before we jump into that, can we talk about, let me see, what do I want to talk about? Can we talk about CBD? All right, I'm going to put a graphic up on the site because I know it's something that I've come to rely on religiously. Can you give me some of the things surrounding CBD, because some people say, oh, it's marijuana, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. Let me also say hello to Jenny again in New Hampshire, Patricia from West New York, New Jersey. Patricia, I'm looking forward to hanging out with you this evening as well. So, Gordon, catch us up, CBD. What's going on, and what do people need to know about it?
So CBD is made from the hemp plant, and it has very little of the I don't even know what the word is for it. It's not going to make you high. THC, I think, is the compound. So this is CBD. Comes in oil and capsules, also for your pets, and it provides pain relief. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's been shown to help people with epilepsy, and with cancer. And a study came out from the British Journal of Clinical Pharmacology that found evidence that CBD significantly helps to prevent the spread of cancer. So now this is not approved by any government regulations or authorities. So,
right. So in other words, you can take it to heart, right? Yeah. That it hasn't been approved.
a big thing, and I think you may have noticed this, Brian, is it helps you get a good night's sleep.
It does. It absolutely does go on. I can tell you that I take the 750 at night. Let me say hello quickly also to Janile. Janile, thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. I take the 750 at night, and I sleep like I don't want to say a rock star because maybe rock stars don't sleep. I sleep like a baby. And then what's happened to me of late is I sleep so soundly that the spinal fluid starts to back up. I need gravity to help the shunt. So the good news is I get such a sound sleep. The bad news is I got to get up pretty quick in the morning and start moving around to get the shunt. Can I say something else, Gordon, quickly about this? Because I see up on the graphic CBD PET. I can tell you we've been giving it to our dog because the vet said that he has arthritis. So we've been taking the droppers, dropping a couple, I think it's a tablespoon that we put into his food. And I'm telling you, you can see the difference almost overnight. The way that he runs, the way that he plays, the way that he wags his tail, the desire to want to mix it up with the kids. It was really, for me, really something else to see how effective it was.
Yeah, it's the one thing in business wise and sales wise. That's the one compound, the one product that they see taking off over the next few years, simply because of the things you're talking about there.
Okay,
it is very effective for pain relief and for sleeping. You know, so many of us in our 60s, you sleep a couple hours, 3 hours, and you're up and you're down and you're up and down and have trouble falling asleep, and excuse me, just for that purpose, it's it's wonderful.
Okay, and then another thing that I wanted to talk about, and maybe a way to do it is see if you have if it works for your pets the way it worked for my dog. Yep. You know what I mean? And say, okay, great. If that's the case, then maybe I'll go ahead and give it a shot. Another thing, we should talk about water. So can you go ahead and give us an idea? I read an article the other day that said that 90% of our water sources are compromised by microplastics and good golly, all these other things. Give us an idea of what's going on with our water supply, Gordon.
Yeah, that's another huge one, is microplastics. We probably all heard about that garbage patch out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, which is hundreds or maybe thousands of miles big. We're a society that buying all this bottled water, and it's not just bottled water. It's so many things are plastics, and we throw them away, and they end up getting into the rivers and lakes and into the oceans. But in terms of drinking water, it's the microplastics, and by that I mean very, very small particles. They believe that the particles that you can see may not be as bad for your body as the stuff that you cannot see, because it just keeps working down, wearing down, degrading to such a small size that your body actually starts to absorb it because of the size of it. Now, it also is in our water to a very large degree, and you might say, well, I'm 1,000 miles from the ocean. Where in the heck is this plastics coming from? Well, plastics are in cosmetics. The little beads, the little grit that's in some of that stuff. Exfoliants, and that's composed of polyethylene. Then you have synthetic fibers in clothing made of polyester, nylon, acrylics. That's probably, most of our clothing is made out of that stuff. They're all plastics. So one load of laundry, every time you do the laundry, you're releasing, 1,000, 2,000 fibers of microplastics into the water. So that's all going somewhere. And so then you have, other stuff like, packing materials like peanuts. Those I call them little peanuts. Sure. And water bottles, and there's just so much plastic. And what they don't know is this microplastics particles. If it is passing into your bloodstream, what kind of effect is that causing? Because no research has been done on that.
Right.
So that is a big one. So the hydrogen water through the portable bottle is very important, but it's also just as important or even more important to make sure that what the water you put in it is pure. And that's where we sourced a lot of the different brands of water filters and come up with ProPure, which is an incredible product. It's not reverse osmosis, although they do have RO systems, but it removes in the high 90s of most compounds because of the unique and proprietary filtering system that they have. And in fact, I think the gentleman, the owner of ProPure, is coming on at some point.
He's going to be on later today, and I'll tell you a little something about it. When I use the a couple of different of the ProPure filters, and I've just, because I don't want to make sure, no pun intended, I don't want to make seem like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. So I do some taste tests and I do some other things. But I've offered it to family members. I've offered it to friends. And just the look on their face when they first have a sip of water and they go, it just tastes so crisp. It tastes so clean. Apparently, right, because I talk about, how some of the most toxic waters could very well be coming in through your tap. They're just blown away with how crisp and clear the water tastes after it comes through one of the ProPure filters. And to me, that was the turning point. So now when I go ahead and fill the water into my H2Go, if I make my coffee like I did this morning, I always do it with the water that comes through the ProPure filter, because it's just such a different taste. And I don't think people are accustomed to how bad their water could really be. Has that been what you found?
That's absolutely true. What you don't know can't hurt you. But what also is very impressive with ProPure is they have the test results on over 200 different compounds listed on their site, and the efficacy, the percentage removed, and it is higher than anything that I've ever seen in any other product, unless you want to go to reverse osmosis and or distilled water.
Sure.
So it's a fantastic product line that they have, and it's something I would highly recommend.
Now, another thing I want to talk about is, when you talk about all the things, I put up Pollentech just now. Their logo is up. And the reason I put up Pollentech is that, you hear about all of these things in the water. But the same thing now goes in the air. I saw a report the other day that says we're breathing in so much bad air that it's actually making us dumber. Now, I'm not slamming people. I'm just saying that there were clinical tests done that show that we start donating neurons because we're breathing in really bad air. And when you talk about these microparticles, and we're going to be talking, Kelly, thank you very much. Living and loving the show. Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate it. We're looking forward. Kelly will be on with us later today as well, actually in studio. And wait till you hear everything she's going to talk about. But what she's talking about, Gordon, is that Kelly is a dental hygienist. So what she's been talking about is how important oral health is for the rest of your body. And I know I saw a study the other day that says that hydrogenated water does a great job. Like I gargle with mine at night. I brush my teeth with it morning and night. So she's going to be on to address a little bit of that. But for now, Gordon, could you talk to us about how bad the air is that we breathe, and what are some of the cost-effective ways and really creative ways that we can go to filtering out some of those things in the air?
Yeah, so air is just another one of the core components. It's the most important thing. Obviously, can't live very long without it. But most of us are cooped up in buildings all day long, and so you're breathing in all the stuff, the dust, the pollen, the dirt, the chemicals, the off-gassing from different. It's just a toxic soup. There's been studies done that show how much more toxic the air is in an indoor environment. So it is very important to do whatever you can do to reduce that toxic load. So really what we're talking about, Brian, is the reason, you look at chronic diseases, they're all on the incline. Unless, something's changed in the last year or so. As far as I know, we're spending billions and billions of dollars each year looking for cures for these things, and it's not happening, and I don't think it ever will. But air is just one of, so it's heaping up. It's one thing. It's the water we're drinking. It's the food that we really haven't talked about, but it's the food as well, because it's all, processed, homogenized, industrialized, whatever you want to call it. So food, water, and air, it's just a heavy load. And so it's really, we need to do, whatever we're able to do to sort of reduce that load, to help your immune system, to reduce the oxidative stress. And really, that's what all this is about.
So then let's talk quickly, because we're going to run out of time. Let's talk quickly about Maju. I joke of it as my surf and turf. I'll put the graphic up on the screen. I joke of it as my surf and turf because I do this spirulina and the wheatgrass juice powder. I also do the black seed oil, which I've just come to love. Can you give me an idea? And now, Gordon, I will be honest with you, taking the ProPure water, so that I know it's just really great water. 200 contaminants stripped out of this water, but knocking out all the little bad guy swimmers, right? And I don't want to mansplain. The bad guy and bad girl swimmers in the water, knocking it out, and then putting it into the Maju products that you and Stephen have turned me on to. It's just a double whammy, and I feel great. I feel an excess energy. So can you talk about that? And then I want to get to BioPro before I let you go.
Yeah, there's a couple of really fantastic products that I like from Maju Foods, and they all, every product they have is incredible, but they have what's called black seed oil that probably most people have never heard of, and another one that I love is the wheatgrass juice powder. But if we talk a little bit about black seed oil, it's been around for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, and there's just hundreds of articles that discuss the benefits of black seed oil. There's very few issues that it cannot help the body overcome. Some of the benefits, promoting liver health, combating diabetes, weight loss, protecting the skin, and it's shown to kill MRSA. That's the staph infection. So it's been around a long time. It's he's even had some religious overtures. I think there's been the saying that the only thing that black seed oil can't cure is death itself. So I'm not going that far, but it is an excellent product. The other one is wheatgrass juice powder. So, I'd like to spend a minute on this. And so I'm talking about juice powder, not wheatgrass powder. Okay. There is a huge, huge difference, because here we're juicing the wheat, the grass, okay, to make, whereas wheatgrass powder is just ground up grass. Okay? So the wheatgrass juice powder is up to 10 times more effective than just wheatgrass powder, because it is so concentrated. It's like 70% chlorophyll. It's got 70 or 80 different minerals and vitamins in it, enzymes. It's just, to me, one of the best, and maybe the best superfood that a person can take to help strengthen the immune system. And that increases energy, stamina, enhancing memory. There's just so many different benefits. It's a fantastic product, and it's one that myself, I incorporate pretty well every day. I try to take it every day because it is so effective.
And then, Gordon, if you would, speaking of taking it every day, and this is something I've done religiously every day since I came out from underneath the knife, but even while I was in the hospital, but BioPro Plus. And I know Mike's going to be on later this afternoon, I believe, talking about, but can you just give us a quick thumbnail on BioPro Plus, and why you think it's so important to overall healthy, functioning immune system?
Well, BioPro Plus is a proprietary dietary supplement, and it's clinically proven to increase the CD4 cell counts, which are your white blood cells, and plays a major role in the body's own natural immune system response. So without those sufficient CD4 cells, pre-existing infections may multiply unchecked in your body, and you're even more susceptible to new infections. So again, just another fantastic product that if a person is able to, and if your immune system is compromised, and, in a situation like you found yourself in, Brian, I would imagine you found some real benefit through that product.
Well, I have to tell you, Gordon, yes, I have absolutely found a benefit. But what convinced me that I wasn't just drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak, right? If you'll forgive the pun. What convinced me of it was my neurosurgeon saying, look, your immune system, he didn't know any of this. He said to me, one of the last thing he said is that you've got to get on top of some of these other things that could be distracting your immune system. Because if your immune system is distracted, it can't field everything that you're going to need to be able to heal this brain tumor. Heal the aftermath of the brain tumor, right? So when he said that to me, it was like a light bulb went off, and I thought, well, what do you mean my immune system? What do you mean I haven't been my immune system's best friend? What do you mean I've been chop blocking my own body's ability? So that, in combination what you had taught me and what Mike Warren had taught me from BioPro Plus, all the lights just went off, and I'm like, hey, I can beat this. I can come back from this brain tumor, right? Because I don't meet a lot of doctors, Gordon, that go, oh, that will tack 25 years on your life. Way to go, getting that brain shunt implanted, right? I'm in the battle every day for it. So to be honest with you, that's what really triggered it in my mind, was what he said, and then it just dovetailed with everything that I had learned from you and Stephen and from Mike.
Yep. Yeah, it's certainly something that if you're really got some major issues going on, it is something to seriously consider.
All right, Gordon, final thoughts before we let you go. Give me some thumbnails. Oh, you know what? Let's talk about H2 Bev. Can we talk about that for a minute? Do you mind? I know Kurt's going to be on here a little bit later, and he'll give us the full rundown. Just put the graphic up on the screen. Talk to me about some of these recovery drinks from H2 Bev, which I love as well.
H2 Bev is sort of hydrogen water in a can, but they're taking it a step further. And again, fantastic products. And the one thing, I watched a video about a month or 2 months ago with a doctor from the Cleveland Clinic, right near you, Brian.
Yeah, no,
that had done some research on nitric oxide and plaque reduction. And so anyone with, that kind of plaque buildup, they have a drink. They have two flavors, actually, a watermelon and a beet. It really tastes good. The watermelon has L-citrulline in it, which is a natural compound that increases nitric oxide. And the beet juice has actually beets are one of the highest nitric counts of any plant. So those two drinks cause the body to increase the nitric oxide and plaque reduction. And I wish I could have found, if I find the link to that video, I'll post it.
Yeah, if you would here in the thread, that would be great.
Powerful. I think he even says that the percentage that he felt it could drop the amount of heart attacks.
Wow.
Just if people could increase their nitric oxide, the health benefits from nitric oxide.
But then, Gordon, all these things are over at tryh2.com, right? So all these reports, all the different things. And if you would put in the link here before you go, put the link in. Most people know Try H2. It's TRY, the letter H, the numeral 2.com. And then you can read all these studies. You can read all these reports. You can see all these things. It's more than just, a clearinghouse for what I call the terrific 10, right? The things that I use, but there's a wealth of information there as well. Gordon, before I let you go, we're talking about the True Frou Thank You. As you know, good friend of mine, in interest of full disclosure, a good friend of mine owns the company. So I thought, what better way for people calling in than to be able to say a True Frou thank you. So what I have for you, Gordon, and the cherry is so good, I already ate them. But there's raspberry, there's bananas, all kinds. It's real fruit, 100% real fruit, and just dipped in delicious dark chocolate, which is also good for you. So do me a favor, Gordon. Let me know. You don't have to pick now, but go to truefruit.com. Pick out your favorite flavor. Let me know, and I'll ship you out a package. That's my little True Frou thank you for hanging out with us today and catching everyone up. Because I don't know if I mentioned it, Gordon, throughout the 24 hours, customer satisfaction is our number one goal. Yeah, there you go. I don't know if you can see that. I think there's a delay, but I wanted to make sure that people got a benefit from listening, and I think there's just an absolute wealth of knowledge over at tryh2.com. Closing thoughts?
Well, I hope people will visit the site. Just on a personal plug or personal note, I'm going to be starting my own hyjuvenation process, which we like to call on my way back. As you know, as mentioned at the top of the show, I've had a lot of ailments, and now I've got the knowledge, I believe, to take me back to what I could be. And so I'm going to be posting blogs, doing audio, and that's going to be carrying on starting immediately. And I'm going to be carrying on for the next month or couple of months.
Fantastic.
Who knows how long. But thank you, Brian, for having me on. It's been fantastic.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
And all the best to you.
Thank you very much. And for all your help from the moment I got out of the hospital, Gordon. Long before I learned a lot of these extra things, you were there to stand up and go, look, let me see what I can do to help. So personally, thank you very much. And for Stephen. And let's do this. We'll end up with Stephen's voice. Then we're going to run to, good golly, it's at the top of the hour already. We're going to run to the top of the hour. Gordon, thank you so very much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me on.
Hi. It's Stephen Farquhar from TryH2. If you're interested in learning about Brian's Perfect 10, the all-natural products he is using to keep awake and alert in his 24-hour marathon, then please visit us at tryh2.com. That's tryh2.com.
You're listening to the #1 rated all-natural being with Brian Brawdy here on IPMNation.com. It's not a midlife crisis or even a quarter-life crisis. It's your shot to recapture your remarkable.
Hey there, this is Lee Rowley from Sales Copy Academy, and you're listening to the live 24-hour all-natural being marathon with my good friend Brian Brawdy. Keep your mitts off that browser tab because Brian will be right back after this short break with another solid hour of all-natural shenanigans on all-natural being. Stay tuned.
IPMNation.com.